Oh yeah, it's the weekend. Tonight's the night. We get wild. Whip out this big boy.
Hello.
Hi.
What you got there? Looks pretty big.
Well, actually, it is. It's the big box edition of the Dwarves. Really great game based on a book series. Really cool.
Do you think I could play with it?
Well, actually, I'm getting ready to head out to game night right now, and the guys are really looking forward to playing with it. But unfortunately, we got a full table, so sorry. But have a good night.
You too. What?
Welcome back to Jack of All Games Tabletop. I'm Dave Wallace, and this is another list show. Because if my viewing numbers have shown me anything, it's that you like lists. So, fair enough. But before we get started, I do want to give a special shout out to my friend Kylie, who you might have noticed in the intro video. Kind of hard not to notice her. Kylie is a professional model, and I've actually had the pleasure of working with her several times. And she's just an all-around cool chick and got a bit of nerd blood in her. If you would like to check out and see more of her, and who wouldn't, you can follow her on Instagram at Kylie Ray Bay. So go and give her a follow and, a like, toss a comment. Don't be creepy, nerds. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, thank you, Kylie, very much for coming on and just being silly with me. That was cool. So anyway, let's get into it. So as I said earlier, it looks like people really seem to like lists. So I've decided to kind of dive into that as far as the different kind of shows that I do. I'm going to do a monthly regular show called 5 Games. Last month I did 5 solo board games. Seems to be the most popular video, so I get it. You get a variety, you get to see a lot of different stuff at once, and I'm going to try and keep it short. It's just kind of getting a basic look at different games. I thought that it'd be interesting to have just a different, unique category each month. I'll pull 5 games out of my collection to talk about whatever that category is. And I thought it might be kind of cool if I could get your help. So if you have any ideas for categories that we can do, it can be anything. I mean, I did solo, and of course you can do cooperative games, and you could do, worker placement games, or, all these different categories. But maybe if you have some ideas that could be outside of the box a little bit, and it can be anything from games featuring space to, games that come in a blue box, or I don't know, whatever. Use your imagination. I'd like to hear it. I think it would be fun. So anyway, so today what we'll be doing is 5 games that are based on epic stories. When I say epic, I'm not talking about early 2000s when people say, oh, that was totally epic, when really it was just really basic. I mean the actual definition of the word. Epic meaning very large and long drawn out, sometimes over series. These are games that are based on book series and movie series and things that have been very influential and stood the test of time. Most of these you will at least have heard of the background story to it all. But these are going to come, not in any particular order. I just chose 5 games that fit that category. There's tons of games that do fit into those categories. And plenty more that you could probably easily come up with. But yeah, this is just 5 games that I pulled out of my collection that happen to be based on epic stories. So let's dive right in, starting with, at number 5, the game that Kylie just couldn't keep her hands off of.
The Dwarves Big Box by Pegasus Spiel 2021.
This game is based on the book series The Dwarves, written by Marcus Heitz. And to be quite honest, really wasn't on my radar until I got the game. I bought the game a couple years ago, was not familiar with the books. And it just goes to show you that with any of these kind of games, you don't actually have to know the background story to enjoy the game. I love this game from the first time that I played it, and I still play it regularly. And I just recently decided to start listening to the audiobook series while I'm working on my paintings, and I'm definitely hooked. But again, don't have to know that, just enjoy the game.
In The Dwarves, you and your dwarven companions will travel across the land of Girdlegard to fight the trolls, orcs, and Alfar, and keep back the perished lands. Choose your character board to track your health and attributes, battle, crafting, and speed. Use your miniature to move to new locations. The track on the outer edge of the board is the Doom track. At opposing ends of the Doom track, place the hero and Doom markers. The hero marker moves at the top of each round, indicating which gate new enemies will spring from. The amount of enemies that are placed each round is determined by rolling the recruitment dice. When too many enemies take up a map space, the land becomes perished, and that space is no longer traversable. The smaller board represents the Dwarven Council. This is where you will find cards for scenarios, adventures, and as the game moves forward, more and more threats. Sending dispatches as an action may help you move the council tracker towards a new king that will grant you bonuses. Failing to do so may move the marker towards a king who does not favor you. Your actions may vary from traveling to fight, finding new equipment for your character, swaying the council, and completing new adventures for further bonus. But the enemies keep coming. To win, you must keep your focus on the scenarios and complete the highest level of scenarios. If one of your hero dies, or if the hero and Doom markers meet on the Doom track, you will taste defeat.
So there you go. This is definitely a fun game. It is a big box game because The Dwarves was actually an older game that ended up having a bunch of expansions. So when they came out with the big box, it just had a lot of extra stuff included in it. Again, like I said, I love this game. It is a co-op game. For me, that means it's a solo game. That's how I usually play it. I usually play 2 or 3 dwarves at a time. And yeah, really cool. I have a lot of fun with it, so check it out. Up next, the epic story is so epic. I fell in love with it when I was only 5 years old in 1977. It has since spawned many movies, books, comic books, video games, other trilogies and series. It's even tattooed on my body in several spots.
Star Wars Rebellion by Fantasy Flight Games 2016.
So of course this comes from the mind of George Lucas, is where it all Star Wars always stems from, and this game in particular reaches into the OT, the original trilogy, the best trilogy. I said what I said, but hey, that's alright. If any Star Wars you like is good Star Wars. Now just a word of warning, this game is huge. You'll see in the video that I actually had to switch to a different table because the table I've been filming stuff on just wasn't enough to hold everything. So definitely make sure you got some room and a friend, as this is gonna need some space.
Star Wars Rebellion is a game best played by 2 players. Choose to play as the mighty Imperial Empire or the outgunned rebels in this compressed game of hide and seek. As the rebels, you'll secretly choose a system to hide your rebel base. You'll use cards for actions to send leaders and emissaries to different locations to sway them to loyalty towards the rebel cause. Send ships and ground forces to support your allies and set up communications. As the Imperials, you rule with an iron fist. Deploy your troops to force systems into subjugation. Use your cards to send out spies, gather allies, and use the advantage of size and numbers to find the hidden rebel base. Mission cards add further objectives. When a mission is in process, the opponent can send one of their leaders to the same system to oppose that mission. When two leaders from opposing sides meet during a mission, dice rolls will decide the outcome. Leaders may be taken prisoner. Hit dice are also used to determine the outcome of battles when ships and ground troops meet. The Imperials win when they have conquered the system that holds the hidden rebel base. The rebels win when the reputation marker and the time marker are on the same space of the time tracker, indicating they have gathered enough sympathy for their cause. So the only question is the Force with you?
Like I said, this is a fantastic game. I've actually only played it once because you do need a friend to play this one. You can't really play, against yourself. Even just saying, "Hey, I love to check out the mechanics." I play a lot of games where I can play two sides, but in this one in particular, kind of important to not know where the hidden base is for the Imperials. So can't really do that solo. So you're going to need a friend. You're going to need some space. You're going to need some time too. This is not a 40-minute game either, but super cool. Definitely worth it. Check out Star Wars Rebellion. Up next is another epic story that I fell in love with the old movie and then the new movies, and I've even fumbled my way through a couple of the books written by Frank Herbert, talking about the Dune series. And the game,
Dune Imperium by Direwolf 2020.
I bought this game a while back, and the day that I bought it, I took it out to check it out and decided to see if I wanted to learn it right then. And I don't know, something about it, I was skimming through it and just like, wasn't really feeling it at the moment. Put it on the shelf thinking I'd do it later, and it sat for a long time. And it wasn't until recently, about a month ago, that I pulled it out and decided I'm going to learn this game. And it immediately became a game that I loved. I play this game in solo mode, and it's just, I don't know, it's super cool. The first video that I did in this channel was my top 10 favorite games of all. And if I were to redo that now, this game actually would jump right up to probably the middle of it. It's that good. So I think you'll see in the video that I probably do show this in solo mode. But yeah, it's definitely playable for, I think, up to 4 players at a time. So check out this video.
Dune Imperium is a deck-building worker placement game. Each player takes a leaderboard. There must always be 3 leaders in play, so in a 2-player game, AI controls a single leader, and in a solo game, AI will control 2 leaders. Take turns sending your agents to different locations to form alliances, harvest spice, hire sword masters, and deploy troops for combat. Your player cards will give you possible locations to send your agents. Some cards will enhance your combat strength during the reveal stage. Others will give you influence to obtain new cards from the Imperium deck. Towards the end of each round, a conflict will commence between deployed troops. The victor gains the greatest spoils, which often entails victory points, gained on the right side of the board. Forming alliances can also gain victory points. Once a player enters the 10th spot on the victory point track, the end game has begun, and the round may be completed to find out who really controls the spice.
This game, much like the Dwarves, you'll see that a lot of the terminology in the game does kind of have connection to the books, but again, you know, you don't really have to know it to figure it out and to have a lot of fun with it. Other than, you know, like I said, some of the wording and stuff on there, I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to figure out, and it's a lot of strategy involved. Really cool. The next one is based on one of my absolute favorite anti-heroes. I've loved the movie since I was a kid, and I love the books by Robert Howard. I have plenty of comic books all about Conan.
Conan by Monolith Games, 2016.
Now, a word of warning about my copy of this game that you'll see in the video. I bought my copy of this I got it on eBay through a thrift shop that was actually selling stuff on there. They had a few games that they were getting rid of, and it was a used game that they believed was all intact. You know, they're a thrift store. They weren't really focused on games specifically. So they saw that all of the miniatures were in the box, and they just assumed that everything was there. Turns out there were some character boards that were missing, and I think the time track board was missing. I managed to make printouts from what I could find on Google Images of the player boards. They were kind of blurry, but I was able to figure out everything that was on there. So plays the same. One day I'd really love to have, of course, you know, maybe a brand new version of it, but for now, you know what, I can play it and I love it.
Based solely on the Conan books by Robert Howard, Conan is a scenario-based game in which one player acts as the overlord, controlling all enemies, while other players, 1 to 4, play the role of Conan and his companions. Your life and abilities are determined by the amount of crystals in the reserve zone of your player board. Use your chosen amount of crystals to move towards your action of choice, from combat to movement to special actions. The amount of crystals you assign will represent the amount of dice you can roll to achieve success. However, at the end of your turn, those crystals will be moved to your fatigue zone during your next turn, but can be returned with rest. If you take hits from the enemy, the crystals in your fatigue zone will be moved to your wound zone and cannot be recovered. The Overlord's turn is a little different. Tiles representing the enemy are placed on a board called the Book of Skelos. Above each enemy tile is a number representing how many crystals the Overlord must expend to activate that enemy. Those crystals are placed in a fatigue zone, which the Overlord can regain. After an enemy has been activated, the tile is pulled from the river and shifted to the far right, making a further purchase considerably more expensive until other enemies have been activated. The crow tile represents different scenario-specific conditions that enter the game. Heroes must battle their way through tribal warriors, wizards, and beasts to complete scenarios like rescuing princesses or discovering treasures. If you are strong enough, Crom smiles upon you.
He is Conan, Cimmerian. He won't play games, so I play for him. Alright, anyway, awesome game. Gotta love Conan. And the last one on the list, I think this was probably, I don't know, for me it seemed like when I was a kid that every little boy had the fantasy of being stranded on a desert island somewhere. I'm 52, I still have that fantasy. That's why number 1 is
Robinson Crusoe: Adventures on the Cursed Island by Portal Games, 2012. Robinson Crusoe is a cooperative survival worker placement game. You'll start by choosing a scenario, minding the end goal and conditions. Choose which characters you will play as. One unique aspect of this game is that the player boards and tokens are double-sided to choose between male and female versions of the characters. There is no difference in either side other than aesthetically. The 4 available characters are the Explorer, the Soldier, the Carpenter, and the Cook. Each has their own unique advantages. During your time on the island, you will survive by building a camp, gathering food and wood, exploring new territory, and fighting beasts, keeping up morale, and discovering treasure. You'll build tools to help improve your shelter, which you will need to withstand the weather, Each player gets 2 tokens to assign to different tasks per round. Assigning a single player's token to a task comes with a risk of failure, but if 2 players assign a token to a single task, it's an instant success, while simultaneously limits the amount of what you can accomplish. Each round reveals a new event, and you cannot have more than 2 event cards showing. So some focus must go there, but you need to eat, or you will lose health points, but you need to accomplish the tasks of the scenario. Whenever you take a task of explore, build, or gather, you roll dice associated with that color. Those dice will reveal if you succeed, take a wound, or draw a card of that color, adding even more complexity to your game. Each scenario has its own objective in order to win. Do you have what it takes to survive the cursed island?
Like a lot of games that I love, this game has a lot of choices that you can make, options and things you can do, and it's easy to get distracted from the main scenario, but it is definitely a fun and beautiful game. So yeah, fantastic adventure game. This one's a little bit more mellow, not so much of the action as other games, but just because you have other things to do, but of course there's still much risk to damage from, whether it be beasts or be the weather itself or not eating enough. It's a really cool survival game, and it's definitely fun. So if you've never tried it out, it might be cooler than you think it is. So definitely check out Robinson Crusoe. That's going to be it for our 5 games episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Is there any games on here that you've always thought about checking out but never have? And if so, let me know in the comments. Also, what games on this list do you have that are your favorite? And don't forget, I'd really like to hear what you think other good categories would be for other episodes of 5 games. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.
Hey gamers, thanks again for watching. I really do appreciate all the support. It's one of the things I know that I can count on with the gaming community at large. This is of course to the point where I gotta ask you to like it, hit that subscribe button, and maybe share this with a friend. If you are a game designer, or maybe starting your own gaming company, and you want to do a little bit of cross promotion, maybe you got a prototype that you want me to check out and talk about on the show, definitely let me know. And of course, for all questions, suggestions, and corrections, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. Probably the easiest one is just comment below. You can also send me an email at jackofallgamestt@gmail.com. The T stands for tabletop. And if you'd like to take a look at my commissioned miniature paint jobs, or even some of the other stuff in my life like photography or tattooing, which is what I do for my day job, go check it out on Instagram at Art of Wallace. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.